Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to plunge into complex topics, pull out the essential knowledge, and, well, hopefully emerge with insights that make you instantly more informed. Today we're tackling something pretty universal. It often feels like climbing a mountain for many young people, everywhere, really. That dream of owning your own home.
Stuff out there.
Yeah, exactly. In today's market, competitive, often unaffordable, that dream can feel like it's just always out of reach. But what if I told you there was a government in a, really charming and beautiful country actively trying to make that dream a reality for its younger generation?
Intriguing. You're talking about Portugal, right?
That's right. We are setting our compass straight for Portugal, a nation that's taken a pretty proactive and significant step to tackle this exact challenge. We're talking about a specific initiative called Jovem 35. It's a program really designed from the ground up to unlock the doors to home ownership for young people, specifically aged 18 to 35. So, okay, let's unpack this. For anyone thinking about moving to Portugal, or maybe you're supporting a younger family member in doing that, this deep dive is going to be, I think, incredibly insightful.
Yeah, it really sheds light on a path that, honestly, many might not even know exists. And what's truly fascinating here is how this initiative, it's not just about helping young buyers. It actually signals these broader kind of strategic shifts happening within Portugal's property landscape. So our mission today is exactly that, to distill the most crucial, the most actionable information about Jovem 35. We're drawing from a pretty comprehensive set of sources, including specific insights from a piece called Portugal's Jovem 35, Homeownership for Young Buyers. We want to explore not just the what and the how, but really the why this program matters so much, for the country's future. We'll cover the core mechanics, the big benefits, its limitations, because there are some, and maybe most critically for you listening, how you might actually navigate and will potentially leverage it.
Absolutely. So whether you're an expat planning a move, maybe an investor wanting to understand the market forces, perhaps a retiree looking to give a grandchild a leg up, or even if you're just curious about how the Portuguese property market works, this deep dive is really crafted for you. Understanding these kinds of financial incentives is, well, it's not just nice to know. It's pretty crucial for making smart, strategic decisions that could literally change your path to owning property in Portugal. Let's really dive in. Jovem 35, the foundation of support. Right, so let's kick things off with the basics. Lay the groundwork. What exactly is Jovem 35?
Okay, so at its heart, Jovem 35, it's not just some random new policy. It's a recently implemented, very targeted government program in Portugal. It's really a direct response to the difficulties young people have been facing trying to buy a home, acknowledging that, yeah, it's gotten tough.
Especially in the cities, right? Lisbon, Porto, prices have climbed.
Exactly. Especially in desirable urban areas, coastal spots, it's become increasingly unaffordable for people just starting out. So its core aim is crystal clear: provide a comprehensive, pretty robust set of financial incentives, and they're specifically tailored for individuals in that key age range, 18 to 35.
So it's not just one thing, it's like a package deal.
Precisely. Think of it less as a single benefit and more like a multi-pronged strategic approach. It's designed to systematically chip away at those big financial barriers that usually block younger people from getting into the property market. And that's a really crucial distinction, because when you zoom out, look at the bigger picture, Jovem 35 isn't, a random act of kindness from the government. It represents this concerted strategic effort to directly facilitate homeownership for younger generations, especially in this market that's become so competitive, sometimes prohibitive. Which naturally makes you ask an important question.
What's that?
What does putting a program like this in place actually tell us about the Portuguese government's DEPR priorities, regarding its youth and the housing market?
That is a great question. What does it signify?
Well, I think it signals a pretty clear recognition that housing affordability for young people isn't just some minor side issue. It's fundamental. It's a systemic challenge that kind of echoes across society. It impacts everything from, family formation, national economic stability, even population retention.
Population retention. That's a big one for Portugal, isn't it?
Yeah.
The brain drain idea.
Exactly. For years, Portugal, like some other European nations, has dealt with an aging population. And yeah, that brain drain. Talented young Portuguese often felt they had to look abroad for opportunities, sometimes for career reasons, but often just because the cost of living back home, particularly housing in Lisbon or Porto, was just too high.
So this program is trying to reverse that.
In a way, yes. It's not just a short-term fix for current market prices. It's a deliberate, forward-looking strategic move. The aim is to incentivize young Portuguese and maybe international talent too to stay in Portugal or maybe even come to Portugal, put down roots, start families, contribute to the economy, and maybe, just maybe, help bolster the birth rate, which is critical for long-term demographic health.
Wow. Okay, so it's really an investment in the country's future fabric. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, fostering a more settled, prosperous society.
And the way they've structured this support, it seems quite multifaceted. You mentioned key pillars.
Right. Several key pillars. First and foremost, we're talking about some really significant tax benefits.
Okay, taxes, always important.
And these aren't small adjustments. We're focusing on two major exemptions that can seriously change the upfront cost equation. First, the Municipal Property Transfer Tax, everyone calls it IMT.
IMT, got it.
And second, the Stamp Duty Imposto do Selo.
Right, those are usually the big ones when you buy, aren't they?
Exactly. They're typically the two most substantial upfront costs when you buy property in Portugal. So getting a reduction or even a full exemption, well, that's a game changer for a lot of people.
Game changer, I like that.
And what's more, the Jovem 35 program is designed to work alongside the existing and also quite favorable IRS Jovem scheme.
The income tax one for young workers.
That's the one. It offers reduced income tax rates. So Jovem 35 isn't just easing the initial purchase cost, it's also providing some ongoing financial relief, boosting your monthly disposable income.
Okay, so help with the purchase A&D help afterwards. Nice.
And building on those tax breaks, the program tackles maybe the single biggest hurdle for most young people actually getting a mortgage.
Access to credit, yeah, that's huge.
It does this through what's called housing credit facilitation, and the main tool here is offering state-backed guarantees.
State-backed guarantees, how does that work exactly?
It's pretty clever, actually. The state essentially guarantees a portion of the loan to the bank. This significantly de-risks the loan for the bank, which makes them much more willing to lend a higher percentage of the property's value. And crucially, it makes it easier for the young buyer to actually secure the mortgage, maybe even on better terms.
Wow, okay. So the bank feels safer lending more money because the government has its back, essentially.
You've got it. It can turn a hesitant maybe or no from the bank into a much more confident yes.
Right. This is where it really seems to shift things for young buyers. It's not just a little discount here or there. It's a comprehensive package designed to really break down those initial, often scary, financial hurdles to owning a home. It's holistic. Now, let's get specific. Who exactly is this for, the target audience?
Very meticulously defined. No ambiguity here. First, you must be a first-time homebuyer.
Crucial detail. So not for someone buying a second home or an investment.
Absolutely not. Not for someone who already owns property, not for buying an investment property, period. Second, the age. Strict parameter.
Yep.
They have to be between 18 and 35 years old. That's it.
18 to 35.
Okay. And finally, the property you buy. It must be designated and used as your primary residence, your main home.
So it's really about helping young people set up their home base in Portugal.
Exactly. Establish roots, build a home, lay down foundations for their lives there. And if we circle back to that bigger picture, that strategic intent, this program isn't just a handout. It's a strategic investment in Portugal's younger demographic. It's engineered to foster long-term stability and, really importantly, to encourage population retention. By making homeownership easier, Portugal is actively trying to create an environment where its youth can afford to live, thrive, and contribute within the country, not feel forced to leave.
It's building from the ground up, shaping the future. Makes sense. 2, deeper dive into eligibility and legal framework. Okay, so we've got the what and the why. Let's peel back another layer now and dig into the nitty-gritty, the precise eligibility requirements and the legal stuff behind Jovem 35.
Right, the details matter here.
We mentioned the age bracket 18 to 35, non-negotiable, strictly enforced. You said if you're 36, tough luck for this specific program.
Correct, the focus is very specific.
And the property, primary residence only. Cannot stress that enough. No investment properties, no holiday homes, not even a second home.
Laser focused on genuine housing for young first-time buyers who plan to live there.
Now, that first-time home buyer status, you said it's a bit more nuanced?
It is. The program is explicit. You must not own any other residential property, anywhere, Portugal or abroad, at the exact time you buy.
Okay, that seems clear.
But wait, there's more. The rule also looks back. It says you must not have owned any other residential property within the previous 3 years before this purchase.
The 3-year look back. Why is that there?
It's a crucial measure. It stops people from, say, selling a property they already own and then immediately buying another just to grab these benefits. It ensures the program helps genuine first-timers making their initial step onto the property ladder, directing resources where they're intended.
Okay, that clarification is critical, really shows the focus. What else? Financial independence.
Yes, another really important detail, it highlights the responsibility aspect. The rules clearly state you cannot appear on your parents' or anyone else's tax return as a dependent.
So you need to be filing your own taxes in Portugal.
Exactly. Fiscally independent. It's not just a technicality. It implies you have a level of adult responsibility, you're earning consistently, managing your own finances. It ensures the support goes to individuals establishing themselves independently, ready for the commitment of a mortgage.
Right, makes sense. And finally, property value limits. You mentioned those earlier.
Yes, very specific limits tied to the benefits. The purchase value has to fall within these predefined limits. And important note, these limits can vary slightly depending on the exact location within Portugal, although the main thresholds are consistent.
Okay. And these limits directly link to how much you actually save, right?
Precisely. Which takes us nicely into the next bit, the actual tangible savings.
Before we jump into savings, though, where do people find the official definitive info? You wouldn't want to rely just on, well, us, right?
Absolutely not. Essential point. For housing incentives in Portugal, the main government body is the Instituto da Habitação e da Reabilitação Urbana. Everyone calls it IHRU.
IHRU.
Jovem 35 falls under them. For the detailed eligibility rules, any updates, regional variations, you must consult the Portal da Habitação. That's the official government housing portal. The source of truth.
Portal da Habitação. Got it. What about tax rates?
For current tax rates, IMT details, stamp duty specifics, the Portuguese Tax Authority website is your go-to. That's the Autoridade Tributária e Aduaneira.
Which brings up that important question for you listening. Why is it so critical to double-check these details yourself on these official sites, especially potentially hundreds of thousands of euros involved?
Yeah, why is that direct check so vital? Seems like a hassle.
Because it ensures absolute clarity, and crucially, it helps you avoid potentially very costly misinformation. Rules change, thresholds get updated, there might be regional quirks not widely publicized. While resources like this deep dive are great for understanding the overall picture, relying only on secondary sources for a massive financial decision like buying property, that would be, well, unwise.
Prudence is key. It's your financial future. Due diligence, straight from the official horse's mouth, is paramount. Ensures you're working with the latest, most accurate info. It's the difference between smooth sailing and hitting an unexpected expensive rock. 3. The tangible benefits. How Jovem 35 translates to savings.
Okay, now the juicy part. The bit everyone's been waiting for. How does Jovem 35 actually save you money? Real, tangible cash in your pocket. Let's start with that big one. The IMT reductions, municipal property transfer tax.
All right, first, just a quick refresher on IMT itself. Think of it as Portugal's property transfer tax. It's a percentage of the property's value paid when ownership changes hands. And yeah, it's usually one of the biggest upfront costs a buyer faces. We're talking potentially tens of thousands of euros.
Tens of thousands. Ouch. So how does Jovem 35 help here?
It helps massively. Eligible young buyers get incredibly favorable terms that can dramatically cut this initial hit.
Okay, lay it on me. The exemption tiers.
Here are the crucial details, and this is where the savings get really impactful. For properties priced up to 324,058 beat, you get a full 100% exemption from IMT.
Whoa, hold on. A full exemption on properties up to nearly 325,000 gao.
Exactly, let that sink in. A complete waiver on that tax for a property valued over 324,000. It's extraordinary.
And you give an example. What does that mean in actual euros?
Sure. Let's say you buy a place for 300,000 out. The typical IMT for a primary home could easily be, I don't know, 16,000, maybe 18,000, depending on the exact location and rates. Under Jovem 35, that 18K, it stays in your pocket. Gone.
That is a massive chunk of change. Enough to furnish the place, do some renovations, or just breathe easier financially.
Precisely. It fundamentally lowers that barrier to entry by slashing the initial capital needed. But as you mentioned, the benefits are tiered. So for properties priced between 324,058 euro and 648,022, there's a partial exemption.
Okay, so not zero, but still less than usual.
Significantly less. You still get considerable relief compared to the standard rates, even if it's not a full waiver. Still a big help.
Look, there's an upper limit.
Yes, equally important to note, for properties priced above 648,022, no IMT exemption applies under Jovem 35, none at all.
So the program is clearly aimed at that entry level to mid-range market. not luxury homes.
Exactly. It shows that precise targeting of resources where the need is greatest, rather than accidentally subsidizing high-end purchases.
Okay, IMT exemption, huge deal. What about stamp duty? You mentioned that too.
Right. Imposto do selo, often overlooked, but it adds up. Jovem 35 grants a full stamp duty exemption too.
Full exemption. What's the usual rate?
The standard rate is typically 0.8% of the property's value. For eligible Jovem 35 buyers, that 0.8% is completely waived.
So, on that 300,000 example,
That's another 2,400 stat straight back in your pocket. Again, adds to that initial pot of money for the buyer.
it all adds up. Are there other fees waived?
Yes, there are. The fees associated with the admin and legal side of the purchase. Specifically, property registration and mortgage deeds known as emoluments.
Emoluments, never heard that term.
It's basically the government fees you pay the notary for authenticating the deed and the land registry for legally updating the ownership records. Ensures everything is legally sound and publicly recorded.
And those are usually extra costs on top.
Yeah, they typically amount to hundreds, sometimes thousands of euros on top of everything else. They're those hidden costs that can catch buyers by surprise.
So Jovem 35 exempts those two.
Fully exempted. Which is another nice bit of relief dealing with those pesky extra fees that just seem to pile up during a purchase.
Okay, now let's really get into the how regarding mortgages. The favorable conditions and those state-backed guarantees. This is key.
Right, the access to credit part.
Jovem 35 fundamentally makes getting a housing loan easier. A key feature is the possibility of getting financing for up to 100% of the property's value.
100% financing, that's almost unheard of these days.
It is. And the crucial mechanism making this possible is that state-backed guarantee we talked about. It covers up to 15% of the property's value. This directly and substantially reduces the need for that big traditional down payment, which, let's be honest, is often the single biggest hurdle for young people.
Yeah, saving up that 10 or 20% down payment, it can take years. It feels like the biggest mountain to climb. Exactly. Imagine you're a young professional, starting out, you find a great little apartment. The biggest challenge is usually scraping together that initial deposit. This guarantee fundamentally shifts that whole equation.
So just to be crystal clear, the state guarantees 15%, meaning the bank feels secure lending the rest, potentially up to the full 100%, without me needing to put down cash for that guaranteed bit.
That's the core idea. The state is de-risking that initial slice of the loan for the bank. However, and this is vital with word, the borrower, you, are still fully responsible for repaying the entire loan amount. And you still have to meet the bank's usual lending criteria, income checks, credit history, all that.
Okay, so it's not free money. The guarantee is for the bank's peace of mind, not a discount on my debt.
Precisely. It's a powerful enabler. It unlocks access to capital that might otherwise be out of reach. But the repayment responsibility, still 100% yours.
Can we walk through that example again? The $250,000 property?
Sure. Property value, 250,000 euros. Under Jovem 35, eligible buyer seeks a loan for the full 250,000. The state guarantee steps in for 37,500 euro. That's 15% of the value. So the bank is then financing the remaining 212,500 euro.
And because the state guaranteed that first 37,500.
The bank is empowered and, more importantly, willing to finance the rest, 212,500 euro, without necessarily demanding a cash down payment from you for that guaranteed portion. It's a really smart systemic approach. The state isn't just cutting taxes, it's actively de-risking mortgages for banks, which in turn unlocks capital for young buyers who might otherwise spend years saving for a typical 10-20% down payment. It makes homeownership a tangible reality much sooner for many.
Powerful stuff. And we absolutely have to mention the IRS Jovem benefit again, right? The income tax part.
Definitely. While Jovem 35's main punch is housing costs, IRS Jovem works beautifully alongside it, providing extra breathing room. Quick recap. Significantly reduced income tax rate, max 15% for up to 5 years for eligible young workers.
And didn't you say it got extended recently? It's more inclusive?
That's right. Big update. It's now extended to all young workers under 35, regardless of academic background or profession. Much broader reach.
So what does that mean practically? Lower income tax.
Means more of your monthly paycheck stays in your pocket. Simple as that. Less goes to the taxman, which provides invaluable extra financial flexibility, especially for new homeowners juggling a mortgage.
Right, more cash for renovations, furniture, or just easing that initial financial squeeze when you move in.
Exactly. It's a multi-layered support system. Really comprehensive relief. 4, weighing the opportunities. Pros and cons of Jovem 35.
Okay, so every program, no matter how great it sounds, has its limits, its pros and cons. Jovem 35 is no different. To give everyone a really balanced view, let's weigh things up properly. Advantages versus limitations. On the massive plus side, we've hammered this home, but it bears repeating that IMT and stamp duty exemption. Yeah. Full exemption up to $324,058, partial up to $648,022. Just slashes those upfront costs. We're talking tens of thousands of euros saved. For many, that's the difference between can buy and can't buy. Simple as that.
It's not just financial, it's psychological too.
Yeah.
Makes the dream feel achievable. And complementing those upfront savings, you've got the ongoing relief from the IRS Jovem benefit. That reduced income tax for up to 5 years now for all young workers under 35. It's not just about the purchase, it's sustainable relief, boosting monthly income while you handle that new mortgage.
More capacity for saving, investing, or just, living.
Exactly, without that constant financial strain.
And then, arguably the biggest game changer, that vastly improved access to housing credit. The chance for 100% financing, backed by state guarantees, it fundamentally improves affordability by cutting down or even killing the need for that huge down payment.
Which translates directly into immediate, significant financial flexibility for buyers.
Think about it. If you don't have to sink all your savings into a down payment, that cash stays available.
Right, for renovations, furniture, closing costs, an emergency fund. All those things that come with buying and setting up a home.
And ultimately, the bigger picture goal here, beyond helping individuals, is encouraging homeownership across that younger demographic.
Stimulating property investment, fostering stability, both social and economic, within Portugal.
Okay, those are some hefty pros. What about the cons, the limitations?
Equally important to understand, let's be frank, the most obvious one is the strict age restriction. 18 to 35. That's it. It explicitly excludes older first-time buyers, people who might be 38, 40, buying for the first time, facing similar struggles. They're out for this specific program.
Yeah, that does raise a question about fairness, doesn't it, for those just outside the bracket but still needing help?
It does. It highlights the program's very specific demographic focus, great for the target group, but inevitably exclusionary for others.
Okay, age limit, what else? The property value caps.
Yes, the practical reality of those limits. The exemptions are generous, sure, but the full tax break stops at $324,058, partial up to $648,022, anything above that. No Jovem 35 tax benefit.
And in places like central Lisbon or Porto.
Exactly. Finding something decent, even modest, under that partial limit can be tough. Finding something under the full exemption limit might feel like searching for unicorn tears.
Yeah. So, while the benefits are huge, you might need to adjust your expectations. Location, size.
Yeah.
If you want the full tax break, compromises might be needed.
It's a critical strategic calculation for any buyer. Another key limitation, that primary residence requirement, must be your main home. No ifs, ands, or buts.
No investment properties, no rentals, no holiday places.
Correct. It's a deliberate choice. Ensures the program tackles genuine housing needs, helps people put down roots, rather than accidentally fueling speculation or benefiting existing property owners.
And finally, just to recap those eligibility rules again.
Can't have owned property anywhere in the last 3 years, and you cannot be an IRS dependent. Must be fiscally independent, filing your own taxes.
Right. So connecting this back, these limits aren't accidental, are they?
Not at all. They're carefully designed. They focus the program's impact where it's most needed. They prevent unintended consequences, like artificially pumping up prices in already expensive areas or helping people who aren't really struggling to get on the ladder. It's about making sure the support is targeted and effective in achieving its core social goal. V, navigating the application process, a step-by-step guide.
Okay, so you've heard the what, the why, weigh the pros and cons. You're thinking, maybe this is for me. Let's switch gears to the practical side. How do you actually navigate the application process for Jovem 35?
Right, the how-to. Any bureaucratic process can seem daunting, especially in a new country.
Yeah, forms, rules. It can be intimidating.
But breaking it down into steps makes it much more manageable, less scary.
Step 1. Cannot stress this enough. Rigorously check your eligibility against all the criteria.
The rules are strict. No wiggle room.
You have to be 35 or younger at the time you sign the deed. The final contract, not when you start looking.
Critical timing point.
You absolutely cannot be an IRS dependent. Got to be filing your own taxes in Portugal, financial independence. And, the big one, no other residential property owned Portugal or abroad right now or in the last 3 years.
That 3-year look back again?
If you tick all those boxes, you're off to a really strong start. The path starts to open up.
That 3-year rule really does underline the first-time buyer intent, doesn't it? Stops strategic rebuying.
Exactly.
Yep.
Step 2 then. Strategically pick a qualifying property. As we've stressed, it must be for your permanent primary residence. No investments, no holiday homes. And crucially, the purchase price needs to fit within those limits we talked about.
$324,058 for the full IMT stamp duty break, or up to $648,022 for the partial break.
Knowing these limits up front really guides your property search, right? Helps you focus.
Absolutely. Might mean looking slightly outside the prime city center or considering different types of properties, but it keeps you targeting homes that actually qualify for the benefits you want.
Okay, found a potential place. Step 3. Gather the documents.
The paperwork. This might seem like a long list, but having it ready saves so much time and stress later. It's your essential toolkit.
It definitely needed.
A valid ID passport or Portuguese residence permit. Your Portuguese NIF number, absolutely essential for anything financial in Portugal.
NIF, check.
Proof of income, usually recent payslips, or your annual IRS declaration. Shows the bank and authorities you're financially stable.
Makes sense.
You'll also need a formal declaration stating you don't own other property, matching the eligibility rules.
Okay, a self-declaration.
And, of course, the signed promissory contract for the specific property you want to buy. That's the CPCV Contrato Promessa Compra e Venda.
Getting all that organized beforehand sounds like a really good idea.
Huge time saver, smooths out a big part of the process.
All right, step 4. This is key if you need a loan. Applying for the mortgage.
Right. Important point. Foreigners can and do get mortgages in Portugal, though banks might typically ask for a 20–30% deposit usually.
But with Jovem 35.
If you're a first-time buyer, under 35, buying your main home, you're perfectly positioned for that TENS Futuro M Portugal program.
That's the state-backed loan guarantee.
That's the one. Covers up to 15% of the value. It significantly reduces your need for upfront collateral. And crucially, it can make getting mortgage approval easier through participating banks.
So choosing the right bank matters.
Yes, be strategic. Choose a bank that actively offers and understands Jovem 35. Not all might be equally set up for it. Talking to a mortgage broker who knows Portuguese property and these programs could be invaluable.
Good tip. Okay, final step. Step 5, requesting the tax exemption.
Right, and this part, maybe surprisingly, is often described as relatively straightforward once the earlier steps are done. The key moment is when you sign the final deed, the escritura.
At the notary's office.
Exactly. At that point, you just need to clearly inform your notary or solicitor that you're an eligible Jovem 35 applicant.
And if everything checks out, buyer qualifies, property qualifies.
Then the exemption for IMT and stamp duty is typically applied automatically during the transaction itself.
Oh, so you don't need a separate application for the tax breaks afterwards. It's built into the deed process.
Generally, yes. It's integrated, which is a massive relief for buyers. Less paperwork later.
That is a huge relief. Phew. Okay, what about timelines? Setting realistic expectations is vital, right? Avoid stress.
Absolutely key. The initial phase, property searching, getting financing sorted, usually takes about 1 to 3 months. House hunting, offers, gathering financials.
Okay, 1–3 months to find and get finances lined up. Then the mortgage approval itself.
Once submitted, typically around 15 to 30 days, assuming all your documents are perfect.
And the final stretch. Signing the deed, registration.
Usually ready within 1 to 2 weeks after your financing is officially approved.
So maybe 2–4 months total, roughly, if things go smoothly.
That's a reasonable ballpark. But this brings up that crucial point about realism. Why is it so important to factor these timelines in and maybe build in some buffer?
Good question. Why? Bureaucracy can be slow sometimes.
Exactly. Understanding the bureaucratic realities anywhere is key to managing expectations. While those are typical times, always be prepared for things to take a bit longer.
Peak season delays, maybe?
Could be peak season, could be unexpected issues with documents, maybe something complex about the property's history. Things happen. Building in a buffer a few extra weeks and just cultivating patience, it can honestly save a lot of stress and disappointment. Helps ensure a smoother ride. 6, broader implications and strategic guidance.
Okay, we've dissected Jovem 35 pretty thoroughly. So what does this all boil down to? What does it mean for you listening, whether you're thinking about Portugal for yourself or maybe helping someone else?
Well, fundamentally, Jovem 35 is a really excellent, timely opportunity, especially for foreigners considering a move to Portugal. If you tick those boxes: age, first-time buyer, primary home, you're perfectly set up to invest in Portuguese real estate while benefiting from significantly lower upfront costs.
It's not just saving money then, it's about making that move, establishing residency, building a stable life there more accessible.
Exactly. Far more accessible and financially viable than it might be otherwise. It adds this tangible support layer to that dream of living abroad.
And you mentioned it could also help investors or retirees assisting family. How does that work if the benefit is for the young person?
Right. Subtle but important point. The primary beneficiary must be 1835 and meet all criteria. But think about a grandparent wanting to help a grandchild buy their first home in Portugal. The grandchild applies, gets the Jovem 35 benefits. The grandparent's financial assistance goes much further because those hefty upfront taxes and potentially the down payment requirement are reduced or eliminated thanks to the program.
Ah, I see. So the program's benefits, leveraged by the eligible young person, make any family financial support much more impactful.
Precisely. It's a powerful tool for intergenerational support, family planning, legacy building in a way.
Okay, but let's be real. Navigating all these rules, the documents, the timelines, understanding the Portuguese market, it can still feel overwhelming, right? Especially for newcomers.
Absolutely. It's undeniably a powerful tool, Jovem 35. But like any powerful tool, it needs careful handling, a thorough understanding, and yeah, sometimes a bit of expert guidance doesn't hurt.
Which brings us back to that question for you, the listener.
Knowing all this now, how might you approach the Portuguese property market differently? Maybe see new opportunities for yourself or for helping others, knowing these incentives exist. The complexity involved, especially for newcomers, really underlines the value of being incredibly well-informed. For many, seeking guidance from professionals, maybe real estate agents who specialize in expat buyers, or mortgage brokers familiar with Jovem 35 can be a really worthwhile investment. They can help navigate the bureaucracy, make sure you maximize the benefits.
So this deep dive essentially gives you that foundational knowledge to understand the mechanics, the potential.
And hopefully to empower you to make truly strategic decisions on your path to owning property in Portugal. Outro.
We have really unpacked a lot today, dug into the nuts and bolts of Jovem 35, from its goals right through to its, frankly, incredible potential to make owning a home in Portugal much more accessible for young buyers.
Covered a lot of ground.
We hit the big tax exemptions, IMT, stamp duty, explored those helpful mortgage conditions with state guarantees, and clarified those absolutely crucial requirements: age, first-time buyer status, primary residence.
The key takeaways.
It seems abundantly clear, doesn't it? Jovem 35 is a seriously valuable, potentially transformative opportunity for young people looking to settle down in Portugal, whether they're Portuguese nationals or expats moving in. We really hope this deep dive has given you some genuinely valuable, actionable insights.
Indeed. And maybe just stepping back for a final thought, if we connect this to the bigger long-term picture, think about how initiatives like Jovem 35, they don't just shape individual lives, individual finances, they profoundly influence the whole socioeconomic fabric of a nation.
Goes way beyond just one house purchase.
Exactly. As Portugal keeps attracting more global interest, more investment, how might these kinds of targeted programs actually redefine its future, its demographics, its city planning, its housing landscape for generations to come?
Interesting question.
And maybe most importantly for you listening, what unique, maybe unforeseen opportunities might these fundamental policy shifts ultimately create for your strategic engagement with Portugal? How do these ripples spread out?
A lot to think about there. A really fascinating perspective on the wider impact. We definitely encourage you to review the details we've discussed, think about your own situation, your own goals, and really consider how Jovem 35 might fit into your plans for Portugal. Until our next deep dive, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.